Hello, hello. Just as I start streaming, the dogs start barking perfectly. Good evening, and I hope for those people who've been following some of the other tutorials on YouTube that this, when it's pre-recorded and back out there, will be useful. I am Andy, if you've not heard from me before, and I'm making a point-and-click adventure game and kind of taking you through all of the bits and pieces of doing that. I've made a few. But none of those have been big games or anything, but some of the things I've used, Adventure Creator and Visionaire Studio, these are the tools I'm using. So tonight I'm mostly going to be in Unity with Adventure Creator, setting up some bits and pieces. I'll link some other things once this has gone live, some of the pixel art I've been doing, some time lapse of that, but if you've seen any of the bits and pieces on the channel, some of them will start appearing in these live streams as well. So it's not rehearsed. Anything could happen. I'll probably run into a few problems, but I'm just going to crack on and chat away as I'm going. So the plan for tonight, hopefully, this is the third live one that I've done, and I found the live ones generally I'm short on time, and this is done on evenings and weekends. So my plan here is to go through two of these things, which is my kind of scene template that I've got set up for Adventure Creator and how to do that, and probably put some placeholder rooms and navigation in so that we've got some placeholders for every room or most of the rooms in the game, and how you navigate between them. So that's going to be the focus. If I get time and it doesn't get too late, currently 9 PM in the UK, then I might do a little bit on importing the player sprites. Clive, the main character, I've done some player sprites. I did a tutorial. It's kind of like a pre-record, but that was drawing the 4 different directions for him. I've made a couple of tweaks to that since I did that tutorial, but you'll see that that sprite is actually in Adventure Creator. So if I get a chance tonight, I'll just show you how I did that, but it might be better if I just make a short tutorial for that thing. But yeah, I'm going to crack on and talk about the scene template first, I think. So I'll stick on my ultra wide monitor and let's fire up Unity and move to ultra wide. There you go. I've got an ultra wide monitor and a 16:9 up there. Unity, especially when you're using Adventure Creator, it's kind of handy having an ultra wide because there's a lot of things that you're clicking between. You'll have seen a bit of this background. It's still not finished, and I think that's something that is just part of the way that I end up working because I'm busy with a full-time job. Some of the stuff doesn't get finished to begin with, but I use them as placeholders, and they're still good for blocking things out, really. So what I'm going to talk about really is kind of this bit over here. Hope you can see all of that. Might be a little bit small there. Maybe we'll go 16:9 actually for now, so it's a bit bigger. This is the kind of default scene template, if you like, when you're using Adventure Creator. In a way, the setup of this I've got customized, which I'll explain in a moment. Like these colors and things and these icons are customized. If you're using Adventure Creator, if you've never used it before, then check out the tutorials there. There's a pretty new 2D game primer that came out literally a few weeks ago. Watch that one if you're making a 2D retro game like this. That'll give you like a really good starting point. But if you create a completely new scene in Unity, like a new empty scene, just create one, you obviously get a completely blank scene as you normally would, and the Adventure Creator panel, which is I've just got it docked here to the side like the scene manager, that is straight away gives you an option of what you want to do with the basic structure of the scene that you've got, this empty scene. I would recommend in the tutorial, I think Chris does without folders, and it just puts in the couple of assets that you need to get going. But what I've done over the years with the few different games I've made is use the with folders method, and I'll show you why. When you click with folders, it creates a lot of folders with underscored names that are ready to accept all the different kind of types of object that you can create in Adventure Creator. So down here, like these prefabs that are created as part of it, to create things like hotspots for you to click on, to trigger cutscenes, conversations, like markers and player starts, all of this stuff. If I create one of these, like a hotspot 2D, it'll automatically put it into the logic, like underscore logic underscore hotspot folder. The folders structure is just a way of organizing all of those prefabs, because it can get out of hand pretty quickly. There ends up being a load of different stuff in any one scene. So I recommend the with folders view, but you can adapt that, because some of these you might not need. You might not have any NPCs, for example. You might want to just get rid of that. It might be that your game doesn't have any arrow prompts or conversations in it. You can just delete the things you don't need, but these look for them and put them in the correct place. So it is really handy to use the with folders version. So I'm going to show you this one that I've set up. I'm using a little asset from the Unity Asset Store, which again over the years I've found really handy for color coding and adding icons to some of these. It's called Rainbow Settings, and you can download that from the Unity Asset Store. I don't think it's very expensive. I think it's a few dollars, excuse me. And what it lets you do is the little rule set that you can set up. You can save these rule sets and export them to be loaded into other Unity projects you have. But you basically are asking it to look for a particular name in the hierarchy or a game object, and then you can add an icon to that name. So here it's looking for underscore cameras. It's adding this little camera icon, and it comes with a load of preset icons, and it comes with a lot of different colors. So you can kind of pre-color, and with this little recursive button, then everything within that folder has a little camera icon, and everything within that folder has got like a blue cyan background. So it gives you a lot of preset colors. I'm using a couple of custom icons here that I wanted, but if you go down to like see the navigation one doesn't have an icon on, that green one. So whenever it finds the word navigation, it comes with all these different icons that you can use if you wanted to, just to see how it works, like navigation. I don't know, so that little point to point thing. Just select that, and then you can see navigation then appears with that on. If I spring it open, because there's quite a lot of things in navigation, if I made it recursive, it would then put everything with that icon, which we don't really want. And then because the other ones, like this underscore markers, is below it here in this list, then that overwrites any that are recursive, and similarly these other ones. So it takes you maybe half an hour or so to set that up, and you just save it, drag it as a prefab. So I've got this rainbow settings prefab. I just drop it into each scene, and it colours up all of the correct things for me. What I tend to do, what I've tried to do here to make it like neat for this this live stream, is I've already kind of started to create one that is just going to become the template. And this is what it's about, really, trying to set up everything that you need as one scene. And then I'll probably clear out some of the graphics from here, and then just save that as my default scene. So when I create a new room, so in this case this is the shop floor area, there's an office, there's a kitchen, there's a storeroom, and then there's some other locations. Each of them will probably get we'll start with this blank one, and then just go from there, really, so that they're all laid out in the same way. So what I'm going to try and do tonight is I'm going to look at blocking out all of the scenes that are in the game and hooking the doors so that you can navigate to and from each of these rooms. But I'm just going to literally create as a a grey rectangle with a couple of black doors on, just so that we start to block out all of the navigation. The other thing that I've done, let me just go to the wide view so it's not cutting off. When I click play now, I've just removed the default sprite from Adventure Creator, and I've got the Clive sprite in that some of you might have seen from some of the drawing things. I've adapted his side view slightly. I wasn't happy with his single leg. I've not put any animations in yet for Clive. I've just got the left, right, up and down views. So if I click, he will just slide, but he'll slide facing the camera, he'll slide away from the camera, he'll slide to the right and the left, and you'll see he does a little turn in between them because I've checked the option for like retro style walking, which like mimics Monkey Island and things where the character sprite turns before walking. But I haven't got round to writing to animating and importing all the sprites for the walk cycles and things. That will be probably another tutorial, another video at some point. I don't know whether to call some of these things tutorials. I tend to just talk through what I'm doing while I'm doing it, so I'm hoping it's useful for people. I've got the sprite in. There's those eagle-eyed people out there. I'll just move this over a little bit. Those eagle-eyed folk might be able to see something else going on here. If you look at the colour of his sprite as he gets closer to this door, he goes yellow as if the light is hitting him. Now that's an effect of some Unity lights that I've got set up, but I think this is a broader question for me about the style of this. I want this to be a retro feeling game that really celebrates that pixel art style of the originals. But of course these days we've got some really powerful tools for doing things like subtle lighting, and there was those kind of effects. It was more of like a colour tint over the sprite as it went into certain areas, and you can see that in quite a few of the early retro games. But we've got so much more powerful tools, certainly in Unity, for doing lighting of 2D sprites. So there's a decision to make about whether I do that or I don't do that, and I would be interested in people's comments. Stick it down in the comment thread and things about whether you think that betrays the like retro aesthetic of this kind of thing. I'll show you a little bit like what it's actually doing. So what we've got in the scene, this is a scene I mentioned in a previous live stream that I've set a resolution. The very first live stream talks, when I was messing about with choosing a resolution, talks about choosing something and turning off all the filtering so that it will, when it scales to 1080p or even 4K, it doesn't blend those pixels. So I've chosen a pixel resolution that actually mathematically scales up. But some of these scenes I want to be longer than the screen so that it scrolls across, and I've set a little bit of that up. I was playing with the camera system in Adventure Creator to get something that feels a bit retro. You'll see when he gets to the center of the screen and you keep moving, it then pushes the rest of the screen on, which some of those early games did that, and I think that's much nicer than the camera following the player sprite all the time. It's a little bit more retro, if you like. What you've noticed at the moment is this all kind of cuts off. This is going to be a long room. This is going to be one of those scrolling rooms, but I hadn't originally set the artwork up for that. So like in a sprite, all I've done at the moment, because it was originally cut off around about here where my cursor is, I've just literally stretched it out and I've whacked a door on there ready to demonstrate doing doors to other places. So this is by no means finished, but you'll notice in Unity it's also black, and that is a product of these lights. So what I've got going on here is two different lights. Let's have a look at the inspector. So I've got a scene light, which is one of these free-form light 2Ds, and you can change the color of that, the intensity, and that is spread across the whole scene, just providing some light. If it wasn't on, it would be completely black, and turning that light off, you can then see the other light I've got in there is another freeform light, and I'll show you, you can literally go to Edit Shape and drag these points around to provide light in a very specific area of the scene. And you can see I've just brought that in to where the pixel art, if you look at the Sprite stuff, where I drew the actual light beams in pixel art. So I've just kind of covered a similar area. I've set like a fall off strength, so you can see the fall off shows how much that fades around the outside. I hope you can see that on the stream there. I'll just zoom in a bit. So the fall off affects that fall off, the strength and the distance. So you can really dial in like quite soft, like subtle lights to add some some dynamic lighting really to the whole scene. The reason it looks strange at the moment is because the scene light, if I turn that back on, this was set up to do I think the middle mouse button's starting to die. What's going on there? This was set up in order to have the edge of the screen where it was before, so I need to extend that out. So what I'm going to do is just go to the scene light, edit shape, and just pull out these, and you can see that that scene light is now going to light the rest of the scene. Of course, a lot of the pixel art that's here, including that little foreground overlay of things, is set to the old size. I think I might have actually, did I prepare for that? Probably not. Let's have a look. That vignette there. Don't think I did. Oh no, I did. I did a stretched version of the vignette. So let's just hide everything. Let's output that. All I did was cut it in the middle and shift it along so it's the right size. So let's just export that. So file, export as, just call it shop floor vignette wide. It's just the visible layers, just the selected frame. Okay. Oh, I don't want to GIF. I think there'll be a way to change this. Is there a default export? Sprite's something I'm only just learning literally in the last couple of weeks, so this is kind of new to me. But file export, file export animation. I'm just going to set them both to PNG for now. I didn't even realise there was a file export one image. File export. Export as the only thing I can see. So let's just see that export as. No, it's still saying GIF. Visible layers, selected frames. I feel like I want to work out how to do this now. Unless you can just do that on Sphere, because that's. I'll stick to what I know. Export as. Let's just actually call it shop floor vignette wide.png. I know there'll be a faster way of doing that. If anyone wants to tell me in the comments, please do so. That's all fine. And that's just publishing into my my sprites rooms shop floor. So we should have a shop floor vignette wide. So that's the much wider version. Again, I know I can set this up, I just haven't yet. The default import options for textures are not what I want them to be, because they've got this filter mode as bilinear. We want it no filtering. And because these are so small, I'm not putting any compression on them. I'm just going none and apply these. These are tiny, tiny files because they're literally 350 kilobytes. It's tiny because they're such small resolution. In this case, 500 by 180 pixels. Even when they scale up to 4K, they're not going to get filtered. The pixels are going to stay the same, but ultimately the asset is 351 kilobytes, so it's going to be really, I guess, efficient in terms of the file size. It should be quick to load everything, hopefully, unless there's some other problem. So the thing that I want to do is just bring that in instead of the other one, and you're going to see some other problems here. So what I've got here I haven't really gone through much of what's in each of these, but if you follow some of the Adventure Creator tutorials, that'll explain some of the basics. But this geometry one, that's where I keep kind of all the pixel art really. Name things well, because otherwise you'll struggle once you've got lots of things in here. And of course, eventually in this set geometry area, we'll have objects you can pick up. We'll have all kinds of stuff in here. So yeah, keep it tidy, keep it well named. That's my advice. So this is the foreground bit. This vignette, I call it sometimes, like a black vignette around things, but it's using the old one. I'm just going to drag in the shop floor vignette wide, and you'll see, because it's set to center sprite sort point, it's going to shoot off over the other side of the screen somewhere. So what we need to do is we need to pull that back. Oh, it's also not displaying. Wonder why that is. Wonder what's happened there. Oh, it seems to have split it into two. Let's see why. Just open the sprite editor. Oh yeah, for some reason it's sliced it in two. Not entirely sure why. Maybe it's something I'd set up before. So we want that to be the whole sprite. Pivot is centralized at the moment. We've got to be really careful with pivots in Adventure Creator. I've just clicked apply there so that it's bringing in the whole sprite. Ultimately, a lot of the Z depth or the sorting between what's in front and behind others is done on the y-axis, and I set some of that up in the first live stream. Understand that a little bit better now as well, because that was a new feature. But this foreground is obviously now not in the right place. It's perfectly fine just to eye these in. They're going to stay where you put them, but ideally like you would have a way of making sure they line up. So if I've got that as it is, when I come to redo some of this, I want to get rid of that thing. It was going to be like a TV screen hanging from the roof or a signage board, but I'll need to put some work into these graphics. But ultimately, once I've done that and hit export, it'll just come in and replace automatically in Unity, so that'll be handy. And there's some other things to sort out in this kind of wide scene now that we'll need to extend over, especially the walkable area, so we're going to do that. So if I go into the navigation area, there's a nav mesh section. I've put a little icon on there with rainbow settings, and there's the walkable area. I'm just going to edit that because we want the player to be able to walk all the way over to this door. I'm just blocking some things out here, but this is going to come all the way over. I'm just going to move these points manually for now, because there isn't a way to group select them as far as I'm aware anyway. So again, tell me if I'm missing something obvious. So I'm just moving all of these. I'm going to move this little counter as well, and just square all the walkable areas. Can let your character walk outside the shot, so you just need to make sure that they're kind of defining exactly where your character can go in the scene, giving the illusion that they can walk around this scene. So another thing we're going to do is move this desk back to this wall. And I've noticed as well, because I've drawn this with a bit of a wacky perspective to kind of mimic Day the Tentacle and things like that, they've got these really crazy perspectives. It then makes it really difficult to make sure that Clive and any other character looks the right size for a door in the real world, but also when they get over here, that they're the right size for this, because the perspective's a bit off. So there's a bit of like trial and error, a bit of fudging things to get that to work. So you're going to see plenty of that. I'm sure you'll be the same with your games as well. So what I'm going to do now is add, shift that around, so that desk counter, that needs to just come back. We're going to kind of line it up with the wall. And again, I think we're going to have to make that sprite longer at some point. It's going to come out to the wall, but I'll just plonk it there for now. We are just blocking this out, otherwise I won't get round to doing the other stuff. Let's just pull these walkable areas into a better position. Now that I've just done that first, really. So walkable, it's just a polygon collider. Livestream 1 talked a little bit about that. So we're going to want the main character to be able to walk up into that door. We want him to be able to walk as if he's gone round that counter. You might be able to hear the dogs barking. If you can't hear the dogs barking, by the way, then this is doing a good job of cutting that out. We'll see over the months whether you can hear them, and then eventually, no doubt, see them. All the doors shut at the moment. That might not stay that way. So that's all kind of configured so we can walk all of that. Hopefully now, when I click play, I think I've done everything I needed to there. We should be able to walk, or slide in this case, until we've done the animations, all the way over to here. We can walk in front of that. We can walk up there, and he goes round. And if I click here, hopefully he goes behind the counter as well. I can see that's cutting off much further. Ah, right, I know why. So you can see it's not showing all of the pixel art, just as a reminder. There's some bushes and another corner up there. We're just seeing the top of it up there. It's not going as far as that. That's actually a camera setting. And in setting up this bit where the camera follows him, but only when he gets to the middle of the screen, and then it starts moving with him. You have to set an extent that it lets the camera move to, so that's what's going wrong here. Whilst this is green, you're going to see me do this so many times. I did it so many times in the first live stream. If the screen's all green, it's in play mode, and none of my changes get saved. Those who know Unity know that. Those who don't, be careful of it. Set a colour so that it's reminding you. But while it's in play mode, I'm hoping that the camera settings here, in cameras, main cameras, camera 1, so this is the camera we're on at the moment, you'll see down here in this horizontal movement, we're allowing it to track when he gets halfway across the screen at 0.5, I think that's what that one was, where we've got this minimum and maximum constraint. So by clicking constraint, you can then set constraints, and it's this maximum constraint. We need it to be slightly further so that the camera will travel further. If I put 6 in there, it might move. It does, perfect. So I was hoping, so if the maximum constraint's 1 or 0, that's just the edge of the thing. If I put 6, I think it's 6.5, and then we're starting to see the edge. So you can probably just click and drag to dial this in. Yeah, perfect. So it might not be a round number. I like round numbers. I mentioned this in the other live stream, but sometimes it's just tough. Eyeball that in. That is the main. That's the constraint you want. So I can copy that value out there, click stop, and just paste it back in. There we go. So that is now set so that the camera will follow him all the way across there. So what I want to do is show you how to add doors and then be able to go through a door and come to another scene. Our game, coming back to the game that I'm making here, where I did a bit on live stream 2 about story writing and planning and things like that, and setting achievable, realistic scopes based on your own time, your capabilities, how much to test, how much to release, and getting a flow diagram done. So if you haven't seen live stream 2, go and check that out. That was really just a chat through these things, writing stories and getting the scope right. What I want to bring up here, let's just go to my Figma files. I also talked a bit about this tool, Figma, FigJam, this version's called. Let's go back to files. So, Remnant World, it's one of the working titles of this game. I still haven't decided. There used to be a carpet shop in my hometown of Redcar by the Sea, called Remnant World, and it was a classic 80s carpet warehouse that had like a dodgy local TV advert with a guy in a cheap polyester suit, a bit like Stan from the salesman from Monkey Island. And yeah, he used to be on TV. I can't remember his name from Remnant World, but I thought that would be a fitting tribute if I actually called it Remnant World, but who knows. Back to the point is here's like the act structure for the whole game. So what's going to happen, a flow diagram of it. You can see I still haven't fleshed out the whole of Act 3. It's all there with the ending. I just haven't built out some of the things. I talk about that in livestream 2, I believe. But this is really these are the backgrounds I need to make. So we're dealing with the main shop floor at the moment, which is going to be a wide one. The office, which I did a pixel art what's it called? Time lapse the other day when I was in a tiny hotel in Scotland. I was away for the weekend. All of that pixel art was done hunched over a little hotel desk, not in my nice office here. There's a staff kitchen, a storeroom, another room I'll come to later, and then in Act 3 there's these places. So what I'm going to do, hopefully tonight, is I'm just going to create a very, very simple background for each of these with the doorways, and then just hook up all these rooms so you can actually move the sprite between them all, because that'll just helps with the creative flow. So next time I open up Unity and open up the project, all of those kind of foundational things are set up ready. You can move between them, and then it's then about art and fleshing out and things. So that's the plan. Create a little background for each of these, get an ASprite file ready for each of them at the size that I want. To be honest, I think they're all going to be the same resolution, apart from that and that, which will share a resolution. So it's not going to be a huge job to block them out. And then there's loads of other bits and pieces I'm going to have to make. So this was all about setting the scope. If you're interested in that, it's in one of the other live streams, something that's achievable for me in my spare time. So let's get back to it then. What we're going to do is we're going to use this scene, this blank folder scene, and we're going to save it as it is. This is set up for the wide one now, but the camera and everything is set so that it can go across a wide screen. We'll do the 2 wide ones, and the rest of them are all going to share the same sizes and things, so we can just copy and paste some bits and pieces between scenes if we need to. And I think what we probably want to do is save this one and then save this as the actual scene that we're going to be calling it. So it's going to be shop floor. So we've got this one saved as blank, which is going to become our template. I like using the prefix my, so then I can see which folders I've made compared to the ones that Unity or Adventure Creator or third-party plugins throw in. So my prefabs are in there, my sprites are in there. There's a scenes thing that Unity creates, but I'm going to create a my scenes. This is purely the way I work. Everyone's different, but it keeps everything in. I know that these are things that I have created. I know where to look, and I usually capitalize my as well, which I just failed to do. So into my scenes, I'm going to put the prefix scene so that I know that they're all scenes if I'm searching for them just in Windows Explorer or things. So this is going to be shop floor. I'm just going to save that. So we've got scene shop floor. We're also going to create another wide one like this that shares the same camera constraints and things. Save that in my scenes as scene. I'm not going to tell you what it is yet. I'm just going to call it mystery because it's the other one that's got a question mark on it. It's integral to the story, this scene, and I kind of don't want to spoil it for everyone who's tuning in, and it gives you some reason to tune in as well, find out what happens in the mystery room. So scene mystery, that's sharing a lot of the same things, but we're obviously going to clear out the graphics and things for that. So this is the mystery scene. So what I want to create then, first of all, let's deal with this wide one. So I'm going to go away sprite. I think if I go canvas size, yeah, it's the 500 by 180, these wide ones. So what I'm going to do, just for ease, I think I might just create a let's just put a new frame at the end of here. Oh, I don't want these doing that. I'm still learning Airsprite. It confuses me sometimes. I was an old Flash animator many years ago, and so used to Flash. But there's bits of this actually that remind me of it, which is very nice. So just up here, I'll just create a new layer so that I know what I'm when I come back to this. Oh no, I won't actually. No, I won't. This is bad practice. I'm trying to be lazy, trying to do it quick. It's 500 by 180. Let's create new projects for all of them. 500 by 180. Transparent. Yeah, all of that's good. I'm not sure what advanced options you get. Square pixels. That's exactly what I want. So I'll click OK. So let's actually save these correctly, because then we can just come and animate them later. So I've got my development. These are Airsprite things and their locations. It's really hard keeping track of all the different folders because I'm creating Airsprite stuff, I'm creating stuff for YouTube, I'm creating stuff for the for Twitch, and I've got lots and lots of folders. Hopefully you don't have as many things to keep under you, like in your head at the same time. But it's important that you get your folder structures set up. So all of my adventure game development Airsprite stuff is in here. So locations, these should be the shop floor. There's the wider one, there was my original one, and there's the office one. So what I'm going to create in here is, let's call it, I'm going to use, no, let's just call it the actual thing. So mystery, call it mystery room, there we go. Save. So this is just going to be the absolute basics. So I'm just going to flood fill it with grey. I'm going to the mystery room. I'm thinking back to this diagram. The mystery room, you enter it from the left, so it's just kind of a door at the left. We're just going to block out all of these really quick. So we'll just get a square, a filled rectangle tool in black, and we'll just stick a door there. Lovely. I can't help myself because, in fact, I'm going to do it quick. This is typical of me. I'm just going to draw it like that because I know there'll be a wall of some sort that they come through. That's all it's going to be for now. And a line for the walls, just so we can put down some walkable areas. I'm not doing this because I'm a perfectionist. We need some walkable areas just set up ready. So it might not even end up that shape. It might go off in the distance, might have other walls in it, but I just want something super basic for getting started, really. We could fill the top half or the bottom half. There you go. We'll just do that. He says as he starts fiddling. We need something to be able to ground it. So that is what we're going to do for each room. I've decided that is it. So mystery room, save that. That's the only one that's going to be kind of wide like this. So all the rest of them are going to conform to the normal size. They might be smaller within it, like the storeroom there. I've made it look a bit smaller, but that's going to be graphically a bit like they did in like Indiana Jones and things like that, where it's actually just a lot of the screen is just black and the light, because it's going to be a dark storeroom. The light's just in the middle of it, and we might use that lighting tool I mentioned earlier. I might do that. As a kind of just in the pixel art. Oh, I see a message up there in the chat. What's your thoughts on the chung from Frank Scalper? I'm not sure, Frank. What's the chung? If you tell us a bit more about that, I'll do my best to answer it. The rest of these, we're going to whiz through these as quickly as possible. Apologies about the chat, by the way. I don't get a audio notification through these headphones that came up there, so I'm doing my best to look at it, but apologies if people put messages up there and I don't see them. I'm learning this for the first time. So let's create the other rooms. Let's make sure they're all the right size actually. So I'm going to open first of all the office that I was working on the other day. So if you've seen the live stream, it wasn't a live stream actually, it was a time lapse of this. There's a couple of YouTube shorts out there of them as well. Got Tyler and Clive in it. But this is one that's, I would say, 95% finished. There's a couple of bits and pieces that I might want to do to that, but that is the office. So that is that one there. It's got 3 doors, you can see. One that's going to go in the kitchen, one that's going to go back onto the main shop floor, and one that's going to go in the storeroom. So there's the kitchen, and you can see the kitchen in there, storeroom, and back into the shop, where you effectively, you should be able to see this on the ultra wide. That's the door you're going to come out of when you come into here. So this will have that open door and the staff only bit written on it, just so that they visually line up as you go through. Yeah, this is, let's check, this is the standard size. So canvas size 320 by 180. Okay, so 320 by 180. I'm intrigued as to what the chung is now. So if Frank or anybody else is on chat or anything, let me know. Unless it's some kind of meme I'm not aware of. The size of this, we need to create a lot of these then. It's the wide 500 by 100. These are 320 by 180. So let's create 320 by 180. Okay, transparent. Let's just call that basic. So we've got a basic layer in there. Fill it in gray. Add the door. Which one are we doing here? Let's do kitchen. So kitchen is something where we're coming up into it from a room below. So you're going to go out the office upwards, which poses a creative challenge sometimes. The main character sprite is obviously flat. We kind of wouldn't be able to draw the perspective from coming in from here, but there are kind of creative ways to do that. I've seen people have just door frames, and then almost as if you're looking through the fourth wall, which I think can work quite nicely. It's not something that I'm aware of that's in any of the retro games, but quite often they would just have you come in from a different direction, like you're viewing the kitchen from the other side. But sometimes you could just fade it in with the character sprite there in the right place. But I think we're going to go for something like that. And what I'll do is I'll just lap a little doorway there and not worry too much about it. I think the character might just appear there, so we're kind of looking through that fourth wall. So that will mean that the kitchen itself is probably just for now going to extend a short way back, a long way back, short way back. I think having a wall here. So you're going to come in that door. The character's probably just going to be stood there. We might have some cabinets, like kitchen cabinets would be there. Just blocking out a couple of things that'll help with placing items. This is not going to be me drawing the pixel art. Yeah, I think that's fine for now. We are just getting these set up so that we can use them easily. And I think the kitchen cabinets are kind of blue or something like that. We'll put a lighter blue on top. That will do for now, I think. Let's just extend that up. Do that all the time. Just using the line tool for sketching these things out, really. Let's just take another grey just to help me understand the kind of layout of that. So that's going to be the kitchen. So file, save as, kitchen, save. Let's just create a new layer, delete all that. And then we're going to save this one as, forgot all the other rooms. So we've got kitchen, office, storeroom. So this one could be storeroom. And again, we just want to basically plan out where things are going to go. I think for this one, as I said, this is going to be quite a dark thing. So we're going to kind of make, we're not going to have all of it, the whole screen used. We're going to kind of make it feel a bit dark and restricted. So you're only going to see a little bit of it like that. So in order to do that, let's have that as a little vignette over it. Just hide it for now. Call it mask or whatever. Hide that. So into this is going to be kind of a door that you come in. Just lock that. I kind of need to see what I'm doing actually. So there'll be, oops, there'll be a door that the character comes in. It'll feel a bit tight, like a little wall maybe. There's going to be, I don't know if it's going to be that way around actually. Kind of just trying to think a couple of steps ahead here for. Let's just do something like that for now with the door that is. So really rough for now. Let's stick some blocks of colour in, more blocks of shade in. So that's going to be our entrance, and with that little mask on, we might need to. I might be able to do it just with the lighting. I mean, it's a good question about how we light it. Yeah, let's try that out with the lighting. So that can be it as it is. There's going to be like some racking and things like that in there, which again might be useful if I just throw some quick lines down for some wooden racking or something. Again, these are just going to help me block out some of the interactive objects and things. Let's make that a bit bigger. So let's just have some shelves. If you've just joined us, this is not my sum total of art skill. We're just blocking out some scenes that are going to help us to kind of speed up the development process in Unity. All I'm trying to do here is get some block areas down that will speed things up for us. And then just another rack at this side. This is hopefully the most complex block out that I'm doing. It's not particularly complex. We just want some things that we can interact with. And you'll see why this will be handy later on. I mean, I've seen point-and-click games that maintain the style, and that's fine. If that's your bag, I don't mind. Like when there's a good story, good characters, these are the things that make these games. It's graphics are a huge part of it for me, but I've played some really basic looking adventure games in the past, like indie games on itch and things that are really great stories and characters, but the capability of the indie dev who made it, usually solo devs, they're maybe not great artists, but I don't think that matters. I think you stick to your strengths. Right, that's that one. That's the storeroom. We've saved that. So the next ones, so we've got them. We need exterior soft play. I think I mentioned in the other live stream, it's called Funky Monkeys, or I think it's going to be called Funky Monkeys, again, named after a real place in Workington, West Cumbria. So we've got Funky Monkeys, soft play, a reception and other bits to do. So they're all going to share this same aspect ratio. I think perhaps the side alley might become a wide one at some point, but we'll start it like regular. Or should we just we'll make a bold decision? Yeah, just give myself loads more pixel art work to do, but let's have the side alley as a wide one, and then at least like the act's got a wide area in as well. Yeah, probably. I'm undecided. Let's just leave it. I want to get these all done. Side alley. So I'll save as. I'm just going to call it Funky Monkeys. Save. Just think what I'm doing before I do it. I've saved that. Storeroom, yep. Funky Monkeys. Delete all of them. Well, actually, you can't delete them all. You have to have at least one layer, so delete all of them. So this is going to be an external shot where there's going to be the entrance to. Don't do that. There's going to be an entrance to the actual soft play place. It's going to be an exterior building shot. It's probably going to be about year high. Just block that out. There's going to be like a way to get down the side alley, if you like. Just extend these off for now. There'll be kind of like an entrance door area. Like you get one of these like soft play places. There'll be a big sign and everything. We'll use some nice pixel art light around this sign for Funky Keys. A little automatic door or something. We'll probably have a pavement and other bits and pieces to worry about, but for now, let's just do that. Perhaps square that off because there'll be some of the wall to stop people walking that way and kind of want to walk this way for whatever reason. Might put some bins or something there. So let's just put some shade on all of that. Let's stick that there. I'm just literally grabbing other colours to just well, other shades. I'm doing this so that it doesn't kind of influence me too much on how things are looking. I'm just trying to keep like a basic shade for these things. There's a bit of pink coming in there, but this is actually going to be a nighttime scene, so we'll change this all to like a bit of a blue hue in a minute. There's going to be some doors, and then that's going to do, I think. That'll do for now. That is super simple, but it's going to be a nighttime scene, so I just want to give it a feel of that, so it's in my mind when I'm working on that. So we're going to do adjustments, hue and saturation first of all. I'm going to change the hue so it's kind of a bluey green, desaturate it all a bit and make it darker. So something like that. Apply. I'm not quite sure what happens there. This has utterly confused me. I think I'm using that tool wrong. Again, Airsprite's brand new to me, a couple of weeks old. But when I do adjustments like that, it does the adjustments. I click apply and then it kind of does them again. So I maybe just have to click OK. Not entirely sure. Right, that's Funky Monkeys anyway. So that's saved. Create a new layer. Delete all of that artwork. This one, save as reception. I haven't really imagined this yet in my mind, but there will be, I guess, those front doors that I just drew there. There'll be a wane somehow. Not sure what angle that'll be at. There'll be a reception area of some sort. Just real quick, let's throw the doors on. Be a double door like we had at the front. We might have a little reception window. Something like that, like a little windowsill. You know, the kind of thing where it's like a little glass thing with a talkie hole in it. A bit bigger, but not that big. Oh, that big. Yes, that big. Talkie hole. Something big here, which again might end up integral to the story, but I just want to block in where it's going to be. So we're going to have a big thing there. Just erase some of that out so we know where that's going to be. Big cylindrical thing there. And there will also be kind of a gate, I guess, stopping you from going through. So not quite sure how to draw that without thinking about it, but let's say this is the foreground side of the gate. Delete out that middle bit. The gate kind of goes like that. Again, just I'm trying to keep this simple and fast so that I can just use these to give us some sense of scale and size. So let's get that quickly shaded in. So that shade, floors we've been kind of doing like that. Let's do outside. These are going to be glass windows, little windowsill. This thing, and then the barrier. Right, that'll do for that one. Yeah, so that is perception. Save. Create a new layer. Delete. So we've blocked out exterior reception. We need the soft play area and the side alley. So this one file, save as soft play. So soft play, we need a couple of different things for this. I think for now this one's a bit of a weird one. It's going to have like a ball pool in it, and it might actually end up being taller than the screen so that it vertically moves, but we will see. So I think for this, I don't need to worry too much about what it looks like. There's going to be an area that you're able to stand in, which kind of an area like that, if you like. So I think we'll just leave it like that for now, because the rest of it is going to be too complex. And let's just put, yeah, no, let's just leave that like that. So soft play. Oh, it needs a background color. Okay. Actually, one thing that might help. Let's just create a. There's going to be a slide involved. So let's just for now do this. Still haven't got used to this weird curve tool in here as well. You kind of click and drag and then let go and then drag. It makes no sense to me. Click and drag, let go, click once more, and then click again. Click and drag, let go, move, click once, click again. There we go. Again, I've come from very different graphics tools, so just getting used to all of this. And also don't know the keyboard shortcuts, which is why I'm continuing looking down like that. We'll get there. It's all part of the learning journey. So yeah, there's a slide into a ball pool, basically. So this is, yeah, that's all we need for that scene at the moment. I don't think we need to worry about anything else. So that's a soft play done. Let's create a new layer, delete these layers. We need the side alley. File, save as side alley. We can do an S, shop floor, soft play, storeroom, side alley. And I think for now again, super simple. On the side of the Funky Monkeys building, there's going to be kind of a gate at the end of that to stop you climbing over. Just need to represent it like that, I guess. That'll go back out to the street, and there's going to be a bit of scaffold. So let's fill in the floor. Let's fill in walls. Actually, what we could do here, open recent. So we've got Funky Monkeys. I think you can drag these. Oh, you can, side by side. Lovely. So what I can do now is just sample that colour, because that's going to be the side of that building. We've got that grey floor. Yeah, that's fine. I just feel like these gel a little bit as you go between them. Actually, I think that's a different grey. It is. and then let's just take that and a slightly lighter one for the top. There we go. Do fine for now. We just need some idea of this scaffold. We can close that one now. So let's just grab a bit lighter so we can see it. Line tool. So going to be a bit of scaffold in here. I hope there's no scaffolds watching this back. Because that isn't what scaffolding looks like. Again, just blocking in. It'll help when we're setting up some interactions. And there'll probably be some bins that are kind of integral, or trash cans if you're that way inclined. That's fine for now. That's everything we need. We've got a way to get out, we've got a way to stop them, we can set up a walkable area and everything in there. That is all good. So that's the side alley. So I think that's everything. Reception, soft play, side alley, exterior, main shop floor, office, storeroom, staff kitchen. Right. Cool. So I'm going to just call this, probably a good idea to make a copy of this one as well. Office, save. There's two different Clives. It turns out I had a slightly different Clive because I've made some alterations, but I discussed that in one of the streams, and we've gone with Clive 2 because it's better. Delete Clive 1. I want Tyler out of there as well. So I just want to do an export of this without a load of stuff in the way, because this is one of the problems when you've almost finished a bit of pixel art. The temptation is to get that slammed into the game, but it actually makes it harder to just get moving with the game. So with this one, I'm going to hide the vignette, which is a shame because it's a really cool vignette, that one. I like that. The desk and the items, not needed at the moment. You can see where I've put shading on the wrong layer up there on the floors view thing. So yeah, that'll do. That functionally, we can do what we need to do with that one, I think. So we're going to export these now. So exporting as PNGs. They're going to the wrong place then. So we're going into my Unity project. So my sprites, rooms. I'm going to create a folder for every room because you're going to end up with lots of different stuff that you're going to want to keep in separate folders. So just slide that to the side. We're going to create a load of folders now. We want kitchen. We want storeroom. We want, oops, don't want a shortcut. Cack-handed. We want the mystery room. Funky monkeys. Reception. No edits here, guys. This is just me making folders. Soft play, side alley. So is that correct? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We've got 9. Good. So drop this in the office, and I highly recommend saying what they are. So I'm just going to call this office underscore basic because these are going to get swapped out at some point. Office basic backdrop. Save that. 100%. Just the selected frame. Visible layers 100%. Yeah. Export. So that's that one done. So just save that. Close. Right. Side alley. Export as. Sprites, rooms, side alley. Underscore basic. Underscore backdrop. Try and keep your naming convention. It will really help you down the line. It really will. So mystery room. Save as. Nope, not save as. File. Export as. Sprites. Rooms. Mystery room. Underscore basic. Underscore backdrop. Okay. We've done that wide. Shop floor one. Oh, I haven't saved it apparently. I'm going to save it. So open. Yeah, don't. It's very annoying when it takes you to the last place that you exported when you. So open recent. That might be better. So we need the side alley. We've done the office. Funky monkeys. I should have just exported these as I was doing them, but export as. I'm hoping that it remembers file path in each file. A lot of applications don't do that, and I don't understand why, because you can quite easily save a bit of data in there that says this was the last place they exported to when they had this file open, which would make everyone's life a lot easier. Tell that to Adobe. I forgot what I was doing. I'm exporting. So this is my sprites rooms, and it is Funky Monkeys. Funky Monkeys. Underscore basic underscore backdrop. I'm just going to make a copy of that, so I'll just keep typing it. Save. I'm just doing that, so I'm hoping that it remembers those settings when I save it. I'm going to click save. So after Funky Monkeys, soft play, save as. No, I keep doing that. Tired. Been a long week. Export as soft play. Forgot that I copied it. It has been a long day. Let's go to the kitchen. So I've got reception and storeroom to do. Riveting stuff for those who have just tuned in. The this is all kind of tedious stuff, but it will really help to speed up things when you just want to block some stuff out. But I've noticed the time. I do want to get on to hooking some of these rooms up, so let's just get these last ones boshed out quickly. Which one I'm doing? Reception. What does that leave me? Anyone watching this back is now shouting at the screen because you've been going, God, how can you forget what you're doing there? So the storeroom hasn't got anything in it. It's the storeroom. Storeroom. File. Export as. Yeah, it keeps resorting back to that, which is utterly frustrating. Let's hope it doesn't when I reload them. My sprites. Rooms. Storeroom. Paste. I know I've been forgetting to set that on some of them, but it shouldn't matter. Right, so we now should have basic backgrounds for all of the rooms. This is the mystery room. We can kind of come to that last, but what we want to do is open the blank folder scene. If you remember, this is the one we're going to use as our template. There's geometry in there. Get rid of the things that we're not going to want. So the desk counter, the samples bench. It's going to be a background and possibly a foreground, but it's the backdrop we want to be loading in each time. The other things we could do with getting rid of, let's, in fact, while we're there, very quickly, let's just create a new one. Just call it template. Is there a text tool? There is a text tool. Look at that. I haven't tried this yet. How do you do that? That is beautiful pixel art text as well. I enjoy that more than I should. I can't spell template though. That seems to be a problem. Does it let you? God, I'm watching a guy try to type. Let's try that again, shall we? I'm just going to do a little circle on the floor. Like that. That is the room template. I'm going to export that. Export as. My sprites. Rooms. Template. Backdrop. Save. Export. Right. So into this backdrop, because we're setting up the template we're going to use in my sprites, in the root of the rooms, there should be this template backdrop. We want to turn off filtering and we want to turn off compression. And then that backdrop sprite, we're just going to drag that in there. And because the pivot's off, as we mentioned earlier, it would be nice. I'll work this out outside the live stream. I mean, most of them are going to end up in the middle of the screen, so they're going to be set to like that, which would be 0, 0, so 0, 0. Those longer ones might be stretched over. The white line you can see there is the camera bounce, so it is currently clipping a little bit of it off, but we don't need to worry about that. Probably not going to have lights in every scene, but I'm going to leave certainly the scene light in. So get rid of that little light that was to do with the front door. We'll just edit that back a little bit, just so that every scene starts with the option of having some like Unity lit sprites in it. I'll just leave a little bit of black in the corners like that. And then we'll grab the walkable area, which is in navigation. Nav mesh walkable. We'll edit the collider, and I think, do you? No, you don't do that. Tell you what I'll do, we'll just create a new one. So I'll just delete that walkable. So you just go on nav mesh 2D. Call it whatever you like, but I'll just call it walkable. Grab the collider, stretch it. This is just for our template, so that every scene we load has got a basic thing ready to walk around. That player start, the blue arrow, just make sure that's in it. This is the scaler. We talked about that in another a tutorial or live stream, which is how big the sprite is when it comes close to the camera and further away from the camera. So that's fine. There's like a little setup there. You can punch a hole in a nav mesh, which I talked about again on a different one, and then you can set up holes here, creating holes and applying other polygon colliders. So you can punch holes in things so they can't walk in particular areas, but we don't really want that in our template. It's not particularly important, and not every room will have them. But we've got, I think, everything we probably need. I've probably forgotten something, but we've got a player start, which should be, is it in markers? I thought it was in markers. Tell you a good way to find out, hit player start and it will make you another one. This player starts there. So we've got a player start where they will spawn in. We can just save that, just check it, hit play, see it's behaving in the ways that we expect it to. We can't walk about, so I know what's happened there. You can see the sprites appeared on the player sprite, and we know it's definitely within the walkable area, but this walkable area, because I created it new, isn't set here to the default nav mesh, so just drag that onto there, click play, that should be sorted. Yep, there we go. So this is our default scene now, because most of our scenes are this wide. It'll still let us walk away. Remember we talked about this earlier on. The walkable area doesn't let you go that far, but the camera's following. So that's not going to be in most of our scenes. So I'm not going to delete the camera, but what I'm going to do is just the default settings for it. Camera 1. Put multiple cameras that fade between and cut between. It's really, really powerful stuff, Adventure Creator. The vertical movement, sorry, horizontal movement, we're just going to lock it and it'll get rid of all of those settings. So by default, those settings might even stay, so when you unlock it, it gives you the follow action. When you get over here, it shouldn't be following now, hopefully. Yeah. So that's our standard scene, I guess. Lovely. So I'm going to make a copy of that, just because I'm always paranoid I'm going to mess something up. In my scenes, we're going to call this underscore template, an underscore, so I can't spell the word template tonight, or ever it seems. Template scene, just so it goes to the top and I can always see it at the top, to remind me to open that as the template. There's the dogs barking again. So what I'm going to do is just get a couple of the rooms. I'm not going to go through them all, I can do this off stream, but so we're just going to link the main shop floor to the office and maybe to the storeroom or something like that. Just going to do a couple of them so you see how it's done, and then I can do all these in my own time. So this template scene, we want to save this one as my scenes, scene, office. Some of them I've got capitals, some I haven't. I can tell that'll annoy some people, me included. So let's drop the office stuff in. You should see all in here now. We've got all the different folders I created. So office basic backdrop. no filtering, no compression. I need to do that for all of them. There is a way, I think, in preferences to change the default. Can't remember where it is. Can't remember where it is. Doesn't particularly matter. We're only going to do a couple. I'll find it after this, so that they automatically come in with those settings. But we're going to do the office. We're going to do the kitchen, I think. So I'll just set them to for now. Point and non-apply. And again, if you're joining this late or skipping through it, that's so that it maintains the pixels and doesn't just blur it out as it scales up. So those two, we're doing the office now. So I'm going to go to the backdrop, go to this basic backdrop and drop it onto, oh, what's it doing? Being a pain, that's what it's doing. Select backdrop, drag that onto there. So there's our office basic backdrop. Let's get the walkable area and just tweak that for this room. So just roughly for now. This is just so we can start blocking out some of the interactions. To be able to walk all the way down to the bottom of the screen and all the way over there. So that's our walkable area for that. There's going to be a desk in the middle. We're going to punch a hole in this one as well. So, I mean, we can just quickly do that because it's easy. Create a new nav mesh. I'm going to call it hole underscore desk. This will just help later on. I'm just going to move it so it centers roughly where the center of the hole is, just easier for finding it in the scene. And just pull this around. So basically, so the player can't walk through the desk and the pathfinding will go around it. That's what that's there for. I'll talk about that in a bit more detail. So the walkable area, you basically click create new hole and then you drag that hole onto there. Oh, no you don't. Just remove that. It just needs to be a polygon collider. So the hole just needs to be a regular polygon collider. It did complain and tell me that. Just delete that. Create a new hole. Grab that hole, drop it onto there. So that should now have punched out that hole into it. So we can save that office. Oh, no, made a mistake there. So the walkable areas, we're going to want him to look like he's walking out that door to go in the kitchen. So let's just come back to the walkable area, hit edit collider, and then just give him like a little bit. It's all just faked really, but if he can walk a little bit further up there, that'll just give the effect, right? And we'll have to alter these scaling bars and things. I've just popped them off to the side. They're not called scaling bars. What are they called? They are called sorting maps. So there's this sorting map which specifies the height of the character, the scale of the character here on the screen and the scale of the character here. We'll deal with them later on. We need to make sure the player start is in the correct position. Again, we'll tweak all of these, but we can save that as the office now. So that's the office basic one done. Let's do the kitchen next. So file, open recent. Let's get our template scene. So we're starting with that and then go file, save as, my scenes, scene, kitchen, save that. Right, got that saved. We want to load in our kitchen basic backdrop. We've already set up those things correctly. Set geometry, kitchen basic backdrop. Did exactly the same thing last time. Backdrop. Drop that on there. Okay. And again, walkable area, let's just tweak that a little bit so it's in a better position. So navigation, nav mesh, walkable, edit. So they can only walk on the kitchen floor area, and you can see why I at least drew where the cabinets were, some basics, so they can move about. What we're going to have, I think here, when you come through that kitchen door, something that kind of forces him to walk a bit higher into the room to help with this kind of perspective change. We'll fiddle with that later on. What's also really important here is the player start. That is in the correct place. So in player starts, grab that just with the regular Unity tools. The direction that it's facing, just use your rotate. That will be the direction the character is facing when he enters the scene. And that'll be where his pivot point is, so his feet will be there. So he's going to be stood taking up most of this, like he's just kind of walked through a door that we're looking through. So that's fine for now. I think that's got everything we need. Again, the scaling we'll have to deal with when it comes to it. Like if I press play now on that scene, it should spawn him in at that point. He just might be a bit big or a bit small. A bit small. That will be sorted with that sorting map. Don't think the sorting map works in... Oh no, maybe it does. I'm using animation curve. There's a simpler setting called linear where you just set 2 points. But animation curve, you can basically... You can see how that's affecting how big he is there. And I can drag this up so that he's even bigger in the scene at that point. If that's how big he wants to be. And again, he's using point filtering so he doesn't blur, the pixels stay nice and big. So it's going to be probably something like that, which is pretty high. And then when he's at the top of the scene, he obviously doesn't want to be that small. So equally, he needs to be kind of kitchen height up there. So this is one of those scenes where there's going to be very little difference in scale. It doesn't have to be a curve like this, by the way. It can just be linear, but it's kind of interesting seeing how this works. So as he moves down, yeah, he's not scaling much now. You might not want him to scale at all, but that looks all right. Just remember, in play mode, none of that will get saved. So if you want, you just go copy component, stop, go here and go paste component values, and you'll see that little curve move. Sorted that curve out. So now when we run that scene again, he'll be the right size. So that's the kitchen done. So we've got the kitchen, we've got the office, and we've got the shop floor. So on my kind of game map, shop floor, office, kitchen, might as well throw the storeroom together. No, let's not. Let's just deal with those ones. So one thing you really need to do in order for moving between scenes to work is you need to add the scenes to the actual build. So it's to do that. The other thing that's happening here is I'm using Unity 6, which is the first time I've used Unity 6. So go me, I'm using a version of Unity I don't know, Sprite, which I've never used, and Adventure Creator, which I've used a lot, but that's a new version with loads of new features as well. So I'm learning at the same time as you. What I know I need to do is actually add these scenes to the build, and I think the menu has changed. It's not on build and run, is it? No. Right, gonna have to work out where that is, because without that, how do you add a scene to the build? Where have they moved it to? Build settings, I'm sure. Project settings. Nope. Nope. Everyone going, what an absolute noob, he doesn't even know how to do that now. It's not under build profiles, is it? Don't add scenes in there. I am going to, oh, is it in player settings? No. I'm going to have to do an internet search. How embarrassing. Scenes in build. How to add scenes? Yeah. File build settings. That doesn't exist anymore. File. There are no build settings. I knew I wasn't going mad. If you can't see any scenes in this pane, Unity 6. Alright, so you actually got to build it, make a build profile. Manage scenes in your build. Use scene list to organize the scenes. So you've got to add a build profile. This is all new on Unity 6, so build profiles. Windows. Okay. So the build profile down there. Okay, whatever. Scripting defined. They're not for scenes, are they? Override global scene list. There we go. Well, this is all new. So if I add that scene, yeah, so you need these scenes in your build. I'm hoping Adventure Creator works in the same way in conjunction with Unity 6 in that they have to be in your build list in order to be referenced, in order to change between the different scenes. So I'm hoping that's all good. So doesn't look like I need to save anything. Let's find out. So we want the kitchen in the build. We want the shop floor in the build. So I guess we have to go back there, add that scene. We want the kitchen. Mind went blank then. Open recent scene. Kitchen. Build profiles. I've already got the kitchen. What am I doing? Office. You can tell it's late. Main office. Build profiles. So these are the three that we're going to have so that we can switch between them. Scene kitchen, scene shop floor, scene office. The numbers, you can define which one you switch to by its number or its name in Adventure Creator. I recommend name because these might end up in a different order, and name is more helpful when you're looking at your actions in Adventure Creator, that you know exactly which scene it's going to. So let's just leave that like that. The only problem with that is I've got some in uppercase and some in lowercase, and that is silly. I don't think you can just rename a scene anymore. No, you have to save it as a different scene. We'll work that out. Because what will happen is I'll reference it and I won't put it with a capital O because the other ones aren't. So little things like that can really be a pain later down the line. Okay, we've got all of that. So we're going to start off with the shop floor. And we're going to have it so that we can walk along here and go through that door, and it will load us into the office. The player start there, you might be already thinking a few steps ahead. You can have multiple player starts because when I come back from the office into this room, you want the player to start over there, and there's a really handy tool in Adventure Creator which I don't think was there years ago, which is setting a player start for a specific previous scene, which is very, very helpful. So what we're going to set up here is being able to walk along. We can see the walkable area lets him get to the door. By walk we mean slide at the moment because we haven't got the animations in. But going through this door, we can see he can walk as far as there. He can actually walk a little bit further than we want him to, but it's not really a problem. So we want this area to be like a highlight for your cursor so that you can actually click it and then an action will be run. So to do those interactions, you use hotspot 2Ds for like a 2D game like this. So I'm going to create a new hotspot 2D. It will appear in the hotspots menu. You can select it. I recommend giving it a name straight away. So let's call it, again, naming conventions handy, exit underscore office or to office. Exit to office. Sometimes giving them really specific names is handy because you'll see their names in actions later and you'll be like, if it just says exit office, you'll think it's something to do with the office, but exit to office. Then move the actual prefab that Adventure Creator's made so that its center is roughly over the door, just because it'll help you out in the long run. Pop it over the door. This is the area that is going to be like the hotspot. It's a bit that's going to be interactive for the mouse, for the user to actually click on. So it doesn't have to be super precise. It's using a box collider, this one. You could swap this box collider out for a polygon collider if you wanted to. You can tighten all of that up later, but really quickly we're just going to do it like that with a box. So this box collider is an inbuilt Unity thing. This is the Adventure Creator thing that it's added when you click at Hotspot 2D. And there's lots of different options here. You don't really need to worry too much about it. Some of these are obvious, but if you highlight over them, leave your mouse for a second, it'll tell you what they are. There's some brilliant tooltips on this. So the label, if not name, it's actually what it'll come up with once we've got a UI when you mouse over it. So in a retro game, you might mouse over that and it would say to office. So it's up to you what you call this. I'm just going to put to office in there for now, so that appears on screen once we get the UI done. Name is pronoun. These are all for if they're things, objects, people, and things that you're going to pick up, basically. You don't need to worry about that. We're not going to use highlights in this. You can set a walk to marker. So say you wanted the character to pick up this and you made this item here interactive, you could put a walk to marker at the side of this desk so that the character walks to that before he tries to interact with it. Again, for these doors, you can set them. You can hit create and it will create you one so that when somebody interacts with that, they walk to a particular marker, but there's a faster way of doing it. It's maybe not as accurate, but I'll just do it the fast way for now. We're going to put a use interaction on it. So I'm going to use this little plus button. So on this hotspot, there's going to be a use interaction. And we haven't set up our cursor icons as like use, talk to, look at. You could put more verbs in, but I'm just going to go with use for now. What do you want the player to do? We'll come to this interaction bit in a minute because that's where the main bulk is going to go of this action. The player action, you want to walk to this hotspot and you want the character to face this hotspot after it's finished moving. You can set a minimum distance if you want, the proximity to this that they get to on their walkable area, but it's not hugely important right now. We can tweak all of that stuff later. You can say whether the game on walking that goes into cutscene mode so that nobody can interact with anything else, but we don't want to do that for this. So the player's going to walk to it. If I don't put in an interaction here, and I just click play, let's have a look to see what we get. Firstly, I've done this on a silly room because I've got to walk a long way to get there, so I'll move his start point in a minute. But when you mouse over this, you can see the default cursor, which shows you that there's something to interact with, appears, and the little name if label, if not name, that I said as to office appears there. So if I click that, there's going to be no interaction run, but the player is going to walk to it and face it. So if I click that, he'll walk to it and face it. Not sure why it took a couple of clicks there. It seems to be stopping early. Not quite sure why that is. Strange. We can work that one out later. If we set up a marker, I'm not sure why he's getting stuck there. It's a bit interesting. When I say interesting, I mean annoying. He should just walk up to that, unless it's struggling to pathfind. Actually, what you can do sometimes to debug this kind of thing, I think it's because the hotspot's not within the walkable area, so he's not sure where to go. If you turn gizmos on up here, you can see the pathfind where it strikes a blue line to see where it's pathfinding to. So if I click use, it's drawing a line and then it's getting caught on the edge of there. So if I do that again, oh no, he's stopping for some reason. Not sure why that is. Let's just play devil's advocate. Let's move this nav mesh. Let's move the hotspot. I don't think this is the problem. Let's see if it's solved by creating a walk to marker. So if I click plus, it will create a marker 2D. It will name it after this thing, exit to office. And you can grab this little green version of this marker, position it and rotate it as the location you want the character to walk to when somebody clicks this. So that exit to office now, this marker 2D is the walk to marker. So in the player action of walk to, we just go walk to marker instead. So let's see if that fixes it. If not, I'm not quite sure what's going wrong there. So it might be something I'm misunderstanding about new version of Unity, new version of Adventure Creator. So let's try it again. Let's go down here and click to office. Yeah, lovely, that is working. So there must be a reason why. So maybe using those markers is a much better thing. So even if he's all the way around here in front of this desk, you can see the pathfind goes round, hide the gizmos. If I click on to office, he'll head off. And there you go. Yeah, so maybe using a marker's best. Only takes a second extra to do it. So that gets us to the door. So what we want to do when they get to the door is we want to run an interaction. As soon as you click plus, it'll create you an interaction, and then this little symbol is for the action editor. So I click that, it'll pop it up. And this is like what to do once he gets to there, basically. What is the interaction? So you can wait for a second or two or a half second or whatever you want to do first. I always leave that in there so that I can stagger things later. Drag out a new marker, and there's a big list of different action types, and this is the power of Adventure Creator, really. These are all pre-written actions, so you don't need to script anything for literally everything that you might ever want to do in an adventure game. It's all there, and if it isn't there, or doesn't seem to be there, get on the forums, ask, and Chris, who makes Adventure Creator, will usually answer within a couple of days, and you'll be like, of course, that's how you do it, and it's really straightforward. So this, if I remember correctly, is an action of type scene, and then this drop down will full with all the different things you can do in a scene. And what we want to do is we want to switch scenes, and we're going to switch to the office scene. So it's a scene action. I want to switch, and then this is where it was important that you put the build number in. I'll just zoom in a bit there. Just realise how small that is on my stream. Oh, that might be as far in as you can zoom. Unfortunately, it's as far as you can zoom. This is a zoom tool. No. Well, hopefully you can see that. Oh, actually, let me switch to. It's slightly bigger there. So you can choose So it's an action type scene, it's a switch, you can choose by number, and that is the build number I talked about earlier, or the name of the scene that you want to switch to. And we named our scenes scene underscore, I stupidly put office with an uppercase, so that is the name. If you want to check it, I assume you can just go build profiles. That's the name it's looking for, scene underscore capital O office. That's where we're going, or I could use the number 2, but I'm going to use the name. There's some other options here as well. You can select relative markers in this scene where they want to be, but we're not going to deal with that. We're just going to do a scene switch. There's loads of ways to polish that. You can have nice fade outs and fade ins and things. We can add all that polish later. We just want to make sure it's going to work and move us to this next scene. So that is the interaction chain. You can just close that. These are auto saved. These node graphs can get quite complicated, but most of the time they're pretty simple ones like that. I'll do a tutorial specifically about, these are called action lists. You can make action list assets, ALAs, that can be reused, and you can build little templates of them that are really powerful to do things like change scene, where you might want to do a lot of things every time you change scene. So you might want it to fade to black and play a little like musical thing, or the sound of a door, or the sound of footsteps, and then load the other scene black, then fade the other scene up, and then have the character walk in. If you want that for every single scene transition, then it's worth making an action list asset that does that, where all you have to do is change a variable of which scene you want to load, and then all those other actions will trigger. So they're really helpful. I'll do a tutorial specifically on action list assets because they are really powerful and make your life a lot easier. You wouldn't have to do this for every single door. Okay, so we're set up now. That's going to load the office. I'm just going to click play without thinking about whether I've done that correctly. That should, I think, work. So we're in this scene shop floor at the moment. I click on the 2 office, it goes there, and it does nothing, which is fantastic. So let's see if the console hasn't errored. So I'm not sure why it should be going to the office. It is not switching. How strange. So this could be something to do with my understanding of the build settings now. Why build profiles? This was the way to do it. So perhaps something's different now. We could try the number instead. See if that works. So let's go by number and just put scene number 2. Not sure why that would work, but the other one wouldn't. Also, just to speed things up. Don't realise I'm on the wrong monitor there. Let's just move the player start as well, so we're not having to walk across the room all the time. Let's just start the player right over here. Interesting. So it is trying to load that other scene because this scene is cut out, but we're still on the shop floor scene. It hasn't loaded the other scene. So this must be something to do with the build manager. I'm misunderstanding how that works by the looks of it. Because they're all in that. They're all listed, but it obviously wasn't working. Yet the number seemed to do something. Not entirely sure why. Strange. That is definitely how they're set up. I hoped that was going to work and be really straightforward, but that is the process for creating a door and everything else. Let's have a look at the office scene just to make sure we've got everything we need in here. We have got a player start. So this scene loads. There's no issue with this scene loading. What I can show you on this player start, because that's disappointing that's not working, and I'm not sure why. I'll have to have a look into that. So that's the joys of game development when it's part-time. That's obviously changed since the last time I used it. So this player start where he comes in, this room's going to have 3 different player starts, and again, really powerful feature in Adventure Creator that is pretty new, I think. You can choose the previous scene activation by number or by name again, so that this is the player start when the previous scene was, and then you put the name of it in. So let's look at the build profiles again, even though I'm not fully trusting this now as to why these aren't working. But you will have come from scene underscore shop floor if you want this one. So let's put name, just put scene underscore shop floor. So that's the one that's going to be used if you've come from there. So let's just call that start from shop floor. And then we just duplicate that over here. You can use the buttons to create new ones, but when you've already got the names of them, so start from kitchen. Let's rotate that because you want it to be facing down when he comes out the kitchen. And we want that to be when he's come from the kitchen. And then duplicate again, start from storeroom. Move that one across. So he comes in there. These rolled carpet, he's going to appear in front of them. We're going to have to bring them onto a separate layer later on in the artwork, but you get the idea. We might have him coming in side view from there. Something like that. And this angle, I'm doing 4 direction characters for that retro feel, but if you do an 8 or even a 16 one, it will calculate the angle and display the correct sprite for that angle that they're coming in. Again, really good stuff in Adventure Creator that saves you a lot of programming. Right, so we've got the storeroom one. We just need to say that's when you're coming from storeroom. Again, I've no idea whether I had a capital S. I don't think I've created that scene yet, but lowercase is going to be easier to remember than anything else, all lowercase. So we've got 3 different player starts there. Not that these look like they're working correctly, but let's just, in this scene, just check it isn't an issue with the other scene. Let's create a new hotspot, exactly as we did with the other one. Let's create it for here. Let's just fill that door like that. That's fine. Again, we could make them as polygon ones, but not important right now. Level, if not name, is going to be to shop floor. I'm just going to put that does nothing because we're not going to have them running. Again, a bit more retro, they might speed up, but we can do that later. The use interaction for this, exactly the same as before. It's a use, it's enabled. The player should walk to a particular marker and it tells you a walk to marker must be assigned. So I'll click walk to marker. This is why you should name them, because now it's named after this hotspot, which was not great. So exit was our name thing. To shop floor. Put it like that. exit to shop floor. I'm just going to call that exit to. It would have automatically done that for me if I'd have remembered to name it in the first place. So the marker that you want him to walk to, like he's heading out, is that. And again, if you want to move the walkable area and give it a bit more of a little leg into there, so it looks like he actually goes to leave the room. You have to make sure he doesn't clip with the edge of this, and then you could move the marker kind of into that leg. So he kind of goes a little bit further out than he came in the first instance, so it might just feel like he's about to walk out. So the reason I put that up is what I want to do is just see if it works from this scene and just see whether there's a problem with the other scene. It might be something else I'm not thinking about. So we've got the hotspot. It's got a marker to walk to. We're telling it to walk to that marker. Face after moving. I don't think you need to use that. If you use the walk to marker, it will automatically point the way of that. So that's done. We need an interaction. We've got it named exit to shop floor, so when I click make interaction, it's going to make one that's correctly called that. We're going to do a scene switch, and we're going to switch by name. Just double check what I called it. Build profile, scene underscore shop floor, scene underscore shop floor. Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, I'm not quite sure why this is not working. I'm expecting it's not going to work here either, but let's just run it from this scene and see. You never know. So I can walk about to shop floor, off he pops. Yep, doesn't load for some reason. So I'm going to have to go and have a read of the adventure creator thing, because that would be normally how it works. And it's obviously working, or it's doing something else if you put the number. So shop floor's 1, number 1. It's certainly getting as far as fading the scene. So if I'm using the number, yeah, it just doesn't load the next scene, and I'm not sure why. So can't do much more on that. I mean, I've achieved quite a bit tonight. It's late now, nearly 11 o'clock, so it's been nearly 2 hours. I'll come back to this. I'll continue with it, work out why that's not working, and hopefully on the next stream, I'll be able to finish off that, tell you exactly what went wrong there, and what's different in Unity 6 and this latest version of Venture Creator, or I've maybe just completely forgotten to do something that I need to do, which is always possible. So I know I've been just working through stuff there. It's less of a tutorial or anything, it's just me cracking on with it. Hopefully there's some tips that have been useful to people. You've seen some things that you didn't know about a Venture Creator, or it's piqued your interest in having a look at it. Yeah, I think that's probably all I'm going to be able to achieve tonight. For one, I've got to go to bed and get up for work in the morning. So I hope you've enjoyed it, and please like, follow, subscribe. It really does help. The more people I can get subscribing and following, the more likely I am to get more of these bits of content coming out. So thanks for the support. Thanks for the messages. I'll try and find a way to chat to notify me in my headphones so I don't miss any messages next time. But thanks very much for watching, and hopefully we'll be doing another one soon. Thank you very much.